September 7th, 1973, Mercy Hospital, Scranton, Pennsylvania. My rhythm began and was placed in a small, clear plastic bassinet that once held a lawyer and a heroin addict and a dentist's wife and a thief. And I think I found awareness halfway between acne and boys, on my way to confidence denied, or maybe it was brownie batter, not boys. But I danced right through it, with eyes half closed, not even knowing if I was listening to the right song. But that didn't matter. I kept going anyway, through the waltzes and foxtrots and hip-hop moments of my life, before finally settling into a mambo with the wrong person. And that's okay too. Life is one great dance and a beautiful movement, and I am the composer, the conductor, and the player all in the same meter. And when I become aware of my ability to carry a beat, even if it's just my own, the more the song moves me. When we define our own movement, we recognize that some beats are just naturally stronger than others, that there are moments in our life that flow in metric time, and they are neat and put all together, and they make sense. There are some beats that are accentuated, but yet, here's what happens. Sometimes, we hurry up, and then we have to catch up, and then we don't flow. Because then there are times when we're all out of rhythm. And here's what happens. It started for me with Little League Baseball. There was this rhythm. I would throw a ball against my garage door, trying desperately not to break the window for the 5th time. But I heard this cadence, this sound of the ball hitting the wall, and then the pavement, and then my hands. And that was a natural rhythm for me. When I was about 7 years old, I was the only girl on my team. And I decided that I also wanted to be a catcher. And my dad, who happened to be also my coach, told me, well, you can be anything you want to be. And then this happened. I walked out to home plate, all clad in my armor. It was a pretty cloudy Saturday afternoon at Sunnyside Park. And I met the umpire. And the umpire was young and new. And he looked at me, and I looked at him. He looked down at the rule book, and he looked back at me again, and he said, I have to ask. It says here in the rule book that all catchers must wear a protective cup. So, are you wearing a cup? I looked surprised, I'm sure. So he asked again. It's a rule, you have to wear a cup if you want to catch. So before he could even finish, I was back in the dugout already, and my dad was standing there staring at me like, what are you doing? And I'm rummaging through the equipment bag to find anything that might resemble what a cup was. So I find this thing I don't recognize, I pull it out and stick it in my pants and run back to home plate before Dad could stop me. And I heard him say something on my way out of the dugout about, I could find someone else to catch, or the umpire's being ridiculous with the rule. And I looked at him and I said, I'm the catcher. And if I need to wear a cup to play, then that's what I'll do. And I think back now, and I wonder about how long it took them to change that rule, or to even have the awareness that there was a need to do so. Because, I think that was my first defining moment. Because there are these moments that stand out in our lives, and they define us, and they create our future for what's about to happen. That was definitely an accentuated beat. I wasn't going to let someone tell me I couldn't. And in a moment that defined me, Someone, somewhere, needed to redefine a rule that wasn't even meant for me. And then I'm reminded of my second accentuated beat. And that was when I was chosen to play Mary in the Christmas pageant at my church. And I remember thinking about this, really worried about being Mary, and thinking that I don't want to mess it up if you can somehow mess that up. Because after all, I was the preacher's kid. And I remember thinking, Mary? I don't know about that. I don't really want to be Mary. See, the years before that, I was a sheep, and I was an angel. And those were pretty boring. They wore boring white costumes, except for that one, Gabriel. That angel was trimmed in gold. And I always was in awe of the one who got to wear gold. But Mary, everyone wanted to be Mary. I didn't want to be Mary. I thought sitting there holding a doll was actually pretty boring. But I was chosen to be Mary. So Mary it was, all the while wishing secretly I was Gabriel. The one who stood up behind Mary. The one who, in all of its gold, seemed to stand out even in the background and was just so special. So I remember I really wanted that part the following year because it was my last opportunity to be in the pageant. So I said, I want to be Gabriel. And see, the year before, Gabriel was already taken, and usually by a boy. So that year came, and I remember they looked at me and they said, okay, you know what? You can be Gabriel. I said, I'll be good, I swear. Even if my only part was, do not be afraid. So I got to play my coveted role, and I got to wear gold. However, the truth is, I think sitting there holding that doll was a whole lot easier than standing with my arms stretched out for the entire pageant while everyone stared at me. See, I think I realized in that moment that maybe I didn't want to stand out. That maybe as I got older, it was just a little too hard. And some things define us after the fact. We're going to come back to that. Because, see, then there was 8th grade. And by 8th grade, I was tall. By the time I was 13, I was 5'8". And I was usually the tallest kid in the class. So I hated being tall because I didn't want to stand out. Every time I had an opportunity to lean to the side next to my friends so I could be shorter, I did. Because I didn't want to be tall. I wanted to be short. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be like them. So then came time for the 8th grade superlatives. And you know what I'm talking about, best dressed, most likely to succeed. Well, they voted me most athletic girl. And the boy they chose was a great kid. He was a great athlete, but he also happened to be the shortest kid in the class. I used to walk around with my head down. I didn't want to look the world in the eyes. So then this happened. And they decided it would be a really great idea to put Josh on a chair. And I remember getting my yearbook that day and looking at it and saying, oh, I can't wait to see this picture. And then I saw that. And I said, wow, I'm a giant. So much for my self-esteem. Now, today, I love being tall. I can reach the stuff on the top shelf that no one else can. Undoubtedly, anytime I go to the grocery store, there's some little old lady who says, dear, can you reach that for me? And I say with a resounding, yes, I can. I got this. You need anything else while I'm up here? Croutons, maybe? But see, the truth is that I realized later, and this didn't happen until a lot later, that my confidence was tied to this third accentuated beat that I thought I was hearing for so long, that it makes me realize today that I can add a louder beat somewhere else. You know, the one that makes the song stand out. So then, at the age of 26, I walked away from decent benefits and a good job and I jumped off the cliff. I decided that for me, I needed to follow my dreams. And in the year after, I sold cars, I sold alarm systems, I even drove a limo for a day. I didn't love that. But I found my way back to sports, and what I realized for me is that that's where my passion was. So I opened up a training facility because I wanted so badly. My dream was to teach athletes to find confidence from within. And I opened up this facility, and we won the Best Gym in Philly award in the first year with hardly any equipment. I was given the Female Business Leader of the Year award with hardly any experience. But I think it was because I heard the sound of volleyballs and basketballs bouncing to a cadence on the gym floor, bats hitting balls in the cages, the sound of feet on and off of plyo boxes in the fitness room. And see, what I was aware of is those rhythms every single day were the very ones that instilled the confidence and grew the confidence in those athletes, young and old. And for me, that's what it was about. Because see, my fourth accentuated beat didn't come when I won the awards. It didn't even come when I trained the athletes. No, it came the day that I walked out of an unfulfilling job to find my passion. And for me, that was life-changing. And then possibly my last accentuated beat was the journey the last 3 years with my mom. We lost my mom the day after Christmas to a devastating disease that atrophied her brain cells and took away her ability to function on her own. She battled that for over 10 years. And I think the last 3 years for me defined a whole new awareness in my life. It caused me to see things from a totally different perspective. See, Mom loved music. She loved to dance. And the one thing that we always had was her ability to just sit in her chair, not able to communicate or stand or walk, but still she danced. Moved often to a rhythm we think she made up, but I know she felt it. And I was so grateful for my awareness in those moments to be able to just sit in silence and hold her hand and move to a rhythm that we heard together. Sometimes silence brings love, and sometimes love is the loudest with no words. Just this rhythm that embraces us and moves us through moments in life that we probably will never understand, yet we live through anyway. On Christmas Day, we actually were together with Mom. She was surrounded by her family. And one doesn't practice saying goodbye, and it's probably as painful and as heart-wrenching as I imagined, and 10 times more. But the one thing that I take with me forever is the moment that I knelt next to her chair and put my head on her chest. I could hear her heartbeat loud and clear. And it was almost as if it could tell me a story. It was like she could say the things that she wasn't able to say for so long. And I heard in her heartbeat, just like the angel Gabriel, "Do not be afraid." And I knew for sure right then and there that she'd always be with me, forever. So I believe strongly, Wayne Dyer once said, "Don't die with your music still inside you." Because see, that moment that I knelt next to her chair and put my head on her heart was the closest I could possibly be to the rhythm that brought me into this world back on that early Friday morning in 1973. So I hope that someday, when my rhythm is over, that I have played my song loudly and for all to hear, and that even if it was out of tune, that the rhythm was at least catchy. And when my beat goes silent, I pray that somewhere, somehow, my melody, even a cappella, will linger on. Thank you.